And then lastly, Laurie from Mubadala, who also has a different angle on the whole, shaping the story.
But this story today is to tell you guys a little bit about how do you tell a very challenging story in an innovative way. What we tried to do with ATIC, which is an investment company, and we wholly own a semiconductor manufacturing company that has facilities in Singapore, Germany, and the US. And we need to make that all relevant to the UAE. It's a pretty big ask, especially when you ask people, what is a semiconductor? So we thought, what is a semiconductor? And then the reality is, who cares and why should people care, right? It's broader than that. So a semiconductor, it's the small chip that basically powers everything we do. It's in your tablet, it's in your mobile phone. And without the semiconductor, there is no technology industry. And that seems pretty simple, right? But then you have to get into, well, what does that mean? And we approached Abu Dhabi Media Company and say, look, let's talk a little bit about some sponsored content. Now, back in the day when I started PR, sponsored content was a no-no. I mean, that's the advertising. You leave that to the marketing guys, they do the ad buy, and if they ask you to do an advertorial, you're like, oh, really, that's kind of cheesy, all right, I'll write it for you, but that's not real PR. Right? I mean, that's right, the way we used to look at it. But now it's really shifted. So the media industry itself has shifted a lot. And you know, you hear about all these great journalists that are now looking for new jobs because the newspapers are shutting down or they're scaling back on their staff. And they have to have new working models as a business model for the media outlets. We are in partnership with Abu Dhabi Media. So we worked with the National and Al Ittihad, which are the two key, outlets for us in Abu Dhabi. And we started to really work with them. We put an editorial calendar together with them, and it was very much a partnership. And it was all focused on this page because there was some good technology coverage in the National, but it wasn't consistent, and they weren't always covering technology. Oops. So what we decided was it can't just be, nonstop news coverage either. We wanted to make it engaging. So we said that in each of the pages, we would have some kind of an infographic, right? Just about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, infographics started getting really exciting and people were using them a lot. So we committed to having an infographic on each page, sort of what we call the deep dive feature, which was on a very specific story. And then we always wanted to have a personal voice too. So Q&A or an opinion piece that we would draft. And we did an editorial calendar. This example shows where on the National, we had the one story, and Al Ittihad, it was very much a same story. And we did this on a monthly basis. So it was a lot of work on our side, but it really paid off. When we look at the relationship that we built with them too, it was, again, helping them. So we weren't always talking about global foundries, and we weren't always talking about semiconductors. We were talking about technology. So it was a very broad story. So for the newspapers, they had credibility. It didn't just look like they were telling the ATIC story or telling the global foundry story. They were able to expand their technology focus. Overall, the results have been very favorable. We have raised awareness for the semiconductor industry. The newspapers, both Al Ittihad and the National, really like this approach. It's worked very well for them. It's worked well for us. According to Mustafa at the National, several other companies have come to him and said, look, we'd like to do something similar. Again, if we made it all about global foundries and semiconductors, it wouldn't have worked that well. It just would have looked like, that paid advertorial, and people would have stopped reading it. What they found was on the website, people would actually go to that first because of the interactivity, the infographics. We're continuing the relationship, so we're no longer ATIC, we're now Mubadala Technology, so we've made a bit of a shift, but we are continuing the relationship. We're going to expand it to go across even more of the Mubadala group, but it's really worked, and we will continue to make it more interactive so that the web pages that they do, there's more interactivity, and we're doing that with them. We sit down with their graphics team and we talk about this, and it's a real true collaboration, which I think is the way technology PR is going. So we've had lots of success with this. We will continue it, and I think other companies will start to engage as well. And we found that It's not just in this market, in this region that it works, but we're currently in discussions now with The Economist. We do a fair amount of work with The Economist, and they are taking a similar approach. They've recently done something with GE to do a massive global campaign, and it's very much sponsored and shared content. So we're talking to them about that too. So this is, you know, it's not just regional. We've had success here, and I think we can build on it.
Yeah.